Sometimes we are given a line like this one and asked to find the midpoint. This is quite easy to do if there are squares on the paper. There's two different methods you can use. So for this example, there are squares. So what you could do is just draw on as a triangle. Okay, and then you need to count the number of squares. So they're quite faint, but I can count. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and along the bottom 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So if I'm looking for the midpoint, what I would need to do is find half of this 6, 1, 2, 3, and half of this 11, which would be 5.5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and half. And then work out the coordinates there. So the coordinates along this corridor would be 2.5, and up the stairs would be 2 squares. And that's the coordinates of my midpoint. However, there is another method of working it out where we use these two. To do these, we've got to remember that the first number is always x and the second number is always y on coordinates. So to find the first number of my new coordinate of the midpoint, the first thing I need to do is add together the two x's. So I would take the -3 plus 8 and divide it by 2. So -3 plus 8 equals 5. 5 divided by 2 is 2.5, which gives us the x of my new coordinate. Then I take my two y's. So I've got 5 plus -1 divided by 2. Now, I should know that if I've got a positive and a negative next to each other, they become a minus. So 5 take away 1 is 4. 4 divided by 2 is 2. So you can see I've got two answers the same. I'd recommend that you use this coordinate method, as there won't always be squares for you to count. So by getting used to this method now, you know you can always solve these problems. Okay, so here's an example where we haven't got squares, so we've got to use our coordinate method. So if you remember, the first thing I do is take the two x's, add them together and divide by 2. So -3 add 6 divided by 2. -3 add 6 is 3. 3 divided by 2 is 1.5. So in my new set of coordinates for the midpoint, my x is 1.5. I then need to take my two y's. So I've got 5 add -2 divided by 2. And again, we've just talked about if you've got two different signs next to each other, they become a takeaway. 5 take away 2 is 3. 3 divided by 2 is 1.5. So the coordinates of my midpoint would be 1.5, 1.5. This is quite a useful diagram to help you remember. So what you've got to remember to do is to find the midpoint. You would do x1 plus x2 divided by 2, and that gives you the midpoint x. And to find the midpoint for the y, it's y1 plus y2 divided by 2, and they give you your new coordinates x, y.